Hello, I'm Tim Vickers with GCON, and I'm Executive Director of Business Development. And I wanted to take a moment to thank you to the organizers of the conference to allow us to speak, and thank you for your time listening to the presentation. I'm going to talk to you about GCON, our pods for manufacturing capacity, and then total cost of ownership is a key term to know when you're looking at after you made the decision to build versus buying capacity from a CDMO. Been in the business for about 32 years, worked at Eli Lilly for 10 years out of college. I've been doing strategic planning consulting for 22 some years and have been with GCON for 3 years now. We're a global company. We were founded in 2009. College Station, Texas is our headquarters, and we also fabricate in Kilkenny, Ireland for the EMEA regions, and we are looking at China area for next capacity planning. So you've made the decision to build versus buying through a CDMO, and you've weighed all the decisions. We're starting to figure out now how and where we're going to do this project, who we're going to have help us, and when does it need to be completed, as well as many other questions that you need to answer. So the total cost of ownership, there's a lot of attributes to it. There's capital expenditure attributes, there's quality risk factors, speed to market, ownership and maintenance, changes in flexibility, and there's an exit strategy potentially. We have developed several tools to get to the TCO, the total cost of ownership. Talk about a few of those, and we'll look at risk factors for the different build methods. So TCO basically is looking at the entire project life cycle cost from beginning to when the project could be an exit or when it's completed. And it incorporates many things like indirect costs, which are overlooked a lot of times when you compare methods. Things like on-site laydown areas for materials, insurances, trailers that show up for people to sit in during the project. And a lot of times this really TCO is not done on projects. If it is maybe done, it's not completely adequate, and all these attributes that we discussed earlier are not considered. So to be fair to the client, we need to try to educate better and make sure all these factors are looked at when you decide which methodology to build. And just to be clear, we've got several methods. These are three of the main ones: traditional drywall and metal studs on site, and then modular panel, really just buying some panelized systems and bringing them and hanging them on the studs and other structures to make up your room, and podular. So we're an entire CGMP clean room box. And it just goes inside a air conditioned facility. So we're podular. GCON's a pioneer in podular construction. We're totally autonomous clean rooms. They have ductwork. They have all the electrical. They've got outlets, HEPA filters, walls, ceilings, floors, lights, so everything you need to run in a clean room. We're able to enable early stage companies to establish their own manufacturing because you can lease the pods, and we take on the full design, fabrication, testing, shipping, and install of the pods. We have a group called Building Solutions that helps small emerging companies with the entire project, not just the pod, but helping them plan and manage all the facets of the facility construction. There's the CapEx attributes are critical. That's really the first cost. We're able to shift some of that to OpEx, operating expenditures, by leasing pods, which is achievable, which is not the case in traditional or stick build or any of that. Labor differences for stick build is critical. There's a lot of different people showing up on site, different crews. Our folks are show up same people every day, and they're working in a controlled environment. So we are able to retain people very well instead of when they're working outside or in unconditioned spaces. Our budgets are very accurate. Modular is fairly accurate as well. It's bill of material based like modular. We can get in the 5-10% accuracy range, whereas traditional is on the far end in the 25-30% range at the same given scope definement. We don't have all the site issues like weather and rain and things like that. We're all inside. These help quite a bit on the cost and cost overruns, as well as schedule. And social distancing has been a big impact on labor densities on site. So we've built a ton of capacity recently, so we're able to produce a large amount of pods and not have that issue that they have on site. So on-site construction projects have really increased their durations by 30%. General conditions, things like laydown areas and site security, insurance, trailer complexes on site to house all the on-site people. We don't have that. So those costs can be 5-10% of a project typically. So we're able to reduce that dramatically by using our off-site pod construction. The owner side team has to be pretty robust and larger on traditional projects because there's so many different parties that have to be coordinated and managed. With us, we're a one-stop shop, and it's much easier for the owner to work with and coordinate with us. We have standard designs, helps expedite the whole design process. Soft costs for design are lower. We have, let's see here. On the structure, many times the building structure is not sized appropriately to hold panels and modular panels that have to be hung and ductwork. Our pods already have everything supported, so we don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to support the steel structure in, say, a warehouse building. Several quality risk factors. As we mentioned, if a lot of different type of labor personnel are showing up, you just don't have the same people following quality systems, or they're doing it differently because they're different people. Our build is in a controlled environment, and we're able to build to ISO 9001, the entire clean room structure. Our materials are aluminum and UPVC, so they're very robust against biological contamination, unlike drywall, tape, and paint. We're fully commissioned and tested at our factory, the entire operation, before we ship it. So it really helps expedite and make sure that there's a good success for quality at the client site when the pods arrive. We have a very well process-driven design process. The documentation is real time. And as I mentioned, we're able to, with our tight envelope with the UPVC panel enjoined, we're able to balance the biosafety level containment as well as meet all the CGMP, EU and ISO requirements for CGMP. So speed to market, we're able to parallel path many things so the client can be out looking at sites while we are building our pods. They can be negotiating leases and things like that that take a lot of time. And you can't start modular or stick build construction until you've got the building, you've got it leased, and you've got a permit. So you have to do a fair amount of design. So we're talking about 6 to 8 months typically that we're already ahead by being able to parallel path off-site construction with our pods. We can integrate equipment, accessories, and help expedite there. We can help when the client's hiring staff. We can help them get trained before the site's ready, so we can have them at our factory during our testing to train them on all the operation of the clean room. And that all helps in the operational readiness, the efficiency and seamless nature of getting the operation ready. So basically with our pods, we're talking about 3 to 10 months. It depends on if it's very standard or how complex it is. With same type of build scope, it's 12 to 18 months with panelized or modular construction, and it can be 1 to 3 years for stick build. So when you're scaling out the facility, especially if it's operational, the pods are great because we're building off site and we negate the whole on-site issues around dust and building adjacent to an operating building. There's been cases where power's cut, operations are halted. So when we're building off-site, it mitigates all those factors. You can relocate the operation, so it's amazing when you think about build your clinical facility and then you want to co-locate into your commercial facility if you decide to do that. So you don't have 2 different sites, and that saves a lot of time and agony and cost for clients. You can basically delay the decision to build because we are so much faster, and that can be a good hedge. And I'd say all the design methods, construction methods are pretty difficult when you're making a lot of changes, but we are extremely flexible for the most part with changes through the process. As I mentioned, you could get a phase 1 operation going first part of your project and then add more phases later, so you can scale out pretty easily with pods, whereas that's very difficult with other construction methods. And we can, so the delay time to investment we talked about as well. This on the right, top right, the light blue just shows how much on-site construction is required. Obviously, stick build is the biggest. There's still quite a bit of time with modular prefab panel construction as well on site. And then obviously pods are primarily off-site and very few weeks, if that, for being on-site to put our pods together and get them up and running. Ownership and maintenance, so our pods can be seen as personal equipment, so 5-year depreciation instead of 39.5. Our system is the envelope's very tight, it's robust, so it can save operation cost on utility runtime. We have come up with a whole list of vendors and suppliers with very reliable systems and parts, and we continually use those. We take full responsibility. So the responsibility is on GCON. The owner doesn't have to get involved with coordinating finger pointing of multiple parties if the clean room's not working. Our materials are robust. We talked about UPVC and aluminum. There's no likelihood for mold as there is with the other methods. And our automation is very robust and significant. So it very good controls on the environment, the pressures, the temperatures, and all. There is an exit possibility with pods. You could relocate the entire operation. You can repurpose, resell. And you think about in a landlord situation where many of the leases call for you to bring the improvement back to as was condition. So you could be spending many millions of dollars demolishing the big investment that you made to be able to exit the facility. So basically some project overrun factors. This is from a BPI article, just really looking at the top two line items. Huge amount of overrun for flawed estimates and other estimating errors for stick build and modular. And you can just imagine when you've told your financing group that you needed X, but then you come back to them midway through the project and you need 2X or 1.5X. And typically what happens is you're going to have to reduce the scope of the project, which is horrible, instead of knowing exactly what it was going to be early on and sticking with the plan. So we have a couple of tools. We've got survey results. We've got delineation matrix. It goes through many questions to figure out the total cost of ownership issues and items that you have. We've got net present value tools that we can work with clients on to help them understand the whole TCO, total cost of ownership. And we welcome anyone that's looking at a project. We can help plan and walk through these TCO aspects and other factors to help you decide how you want to build and help you manage that. So with that, again, thank you to the organizers. Thank you for your time, and hope you have a very safe and great day.